All right, Shalom. This is Har 1 by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harakah Kodash, Ma'amaf. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, Nakwatim, and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. This is, we're going to go into a breakdown dealing with Revelations 13 at request of one of the brothers in the camp. All right. Well, not a request, but just a statement made. So I'm going to go into it. So now what it's talking about in Revelation 13 is basically the establishment of the two beasts, all right, that were drawn up out of the sea, meaning that rose up out of the people at the will of the dragon, right, from the European Union. Okay, so basically the establishment of Nato and daughter of Babylon, America, all right, but it's establishing one as a military power, NATO, and then establishing America as a more subtle military power, all right, to push the agenda of the Roman Empire and their paganism against as a contender against righteousness upon the earth. Okay, now, so let's get into it. You have, this is Revelation 13:1. It says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, upon the earth." All right. And the sea represents the people. "And saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the names of blasphemy." All right, so let's deal with that. Now, where it says, "And I stood upon the sands of the sea," the word there is not supposed to be I. It's supposed to say, "and he." Okay, and he stood. Now, what is it talking about? It's talking about the dragon. Basically saying that to cause, where is it at? It says, "to cause one to make stand to place." So basically the dragon took his place upon the earth. All right. And that goes along with the prophecy spoken of by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And also, according to the book of Daniel chapter 7, which is the Roman Empire. So the dragon took his place upon the earth, and you got a picture like a movie, and you see the dragon upon the earth, which would be the European Union, standing on the sand coming up out of the sea, according to let me get that real quick. All right, this is Revelation 17:15. "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." All right, so that's that's America, and the people represent what? The melting pot. Everybody that comes over here to this country. Now, check this out. All right, so now you gotta imagine a dragon sitting upon the earth, the shore, and calling up his minions or his legion, demons and shit, calling them out of the waters as well. And that's what's happening. That's what happened upon the earth through the dragon, which would be the European Union or Rome, the Roman Empire. They set out to go to war with the descendants of Israel, man. All right. So that's our arch enemy, Jacob and Esau. So they set up a system to go to war with. What's that called? Racism. That's a system against the children of Israel. All right. And they established their paganism upon the earth. So now you have the Roman Empire establishing itself upon the earth, So the Most High setting it up. Now let's get this real quick. This is Revelation 12 and 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and a half of times from the face of the serpent. See, that word dragon is the same word for serpent. All right, it's synonymous. And go to verse 9. And times, and half of times, it means a long period of time. All right, short season. Now, Revelations 12 and 14. Verse 7, this is a future prophecy that's going to happen with the dragon. All right, and I'm going to get to the point. And there was war in heaven. Actually, you can read this whole chapter dealing with the dragon from Herod, the Roman Empire. All right, but I want to get to the point. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. All right, and that's about to happen. And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. All right, so the Lord using the angels to fight against the dragon already. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent. All right, so the dragon, basically that old serpent called the devil and Satan. That's Esau, man. They're going to be cast out of their rulership. Ultimately, they're going to be cast out of the earth after 1,000 years. It says, which deceiveth the whole world, he was cast out into the earth. So they're going to be cast down to the ground in hell on the earth. That's what let you know hell is right here on earth. They're going to be cast down into the earth. Okay? It's right here on earth, man. And his angels were cast out with him, man. So all his soldiers and the whole system that they got set up, and the agents, they call them agentures of the devil. All right, so that's the Roman Empire. Now let me get to the point again. 14. And to the woman, talking about Israel, were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place. And what's that place? Because after 70 AD, we were scattered by the Roman Empire under Titus and Vespasian. And we fled into Europe. We fled into Egypt. We fled into all the places spoken of in Isaiah chapter 11. All right. We were scattered everywhere. In Africa, western coast of Africa. But we had a place that was prepared for us. That place is spoken of in 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Arshareth, right? America, which means another place. This is where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. We're nourished through the scriptures and the spirit. All right, for a season of time. And the serpent cast out of his mouth. See, they're talking about the dragon. That's the whole focus. All right, don't lose sight of the focus dealing with the dragon. All right, the European or the Roman Empire, which later became the European Union. Then you had with the Treaty of Rome. So I think it was 1957. All right, and the earth, it says this, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. So Esau had that deep-rooted hatred towards Israel. That's why the Lord said they're going to be shamed in the book of Obadiah for what they've done to Israel, man. And continually going against us, touching the apple of the Lord's eye. That's why scriptures say Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau going to be ruling in the end. And Esau had a deep, perpetual hatred against Israel that would burn forever. Right? Ezekiel 35 and 3. Because this is what they're really called, man. It says, and say unto it, no, 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, man. They're the house of Esau, all right? The government of Esau. And say unto it, thus saith Yahweh, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, talking about Edom, and the dragon and all of them, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And I will lay thy cities waste, because they built cities all over the world. And thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. See that? They have a perpetual hatred that stems all the way back from the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, during the times of Babylon. All right? Going even all the way back to Jacob and Esau, when he lost his birthright. It went to his loins. And perpetual hatred, man. And that's what Rome established. They set up a system of hatred towards us. And they used Nato and America to afflict that punishment on us, man. And to rob, steal, and kill us. All right? Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. See that? That's a continual hatred. Let's see what the word perpetual means. All right, the word perpetual. So the Lord said Esau has a never-ending or changing hatred towards us. Never ending, man. It's never ended. All right, scriptures talk. All right, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. As the blessing was given to Esau in Genesis 27, and they've shed our blood in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. All right. So, and even now, coming out of slavery, we still in slavery. We still got Social Security numbers and shit. And they trying to set up this whole New World Order system to keep everybody slaves forever. They want to establish something called transhumanization to keep the body alive under computerized system, man, of slavery for the elites of Edom. That's what they're hoping for. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. But the Lord said what? Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, saith the Lord. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir, the dragon, the beast, the great whore, right, most desolate, and cut off from him that passeth out, and him that returneth. All right, I'm going to get straight to the point. Genesis 27 and 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, to my Isaac. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. All right, ever since then, he's been set out to try to kill Jacob and destroy us as a nation. It says this, and these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doeth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee, man. Do get comfort in trying to kill us, yo. Think about that. And that's in their heritage. That's in their thought as a nation, their mindset. The spirit of their nation is to destroy Israel. All right, so let's get back to this dragon, the Roman Empire, and how it took its place upon the sand of the sea. It stood upon the earth. All right, because you'll think it's talking about John right there, because it says, I stood upon the sand of the sea in Revelation 13, but it's supposed to say, and he stood upon the sand of the sea. He took his place upon the sand of the sea. All right, talking about the dragon. Took his place upon the earth. All right, Revelations. because originally it was a military power and a congressional power, meaning a bunch of enemies or adversaries meeting in one place to establish what they call order out of disorder that they create. All right, that's what two political parties with their Congress. That's the Roman Empire spoken of in Daniel chapter 7. The beast that was diverse from every other beast. So, all right, it took its place upon the earth. But what place did it take? It took a financial positioning upon the earth. Played the background, got rid of his army, established Nato. Now, recently, you hear about Europe, EU trying to establish an army now after the Brexit. All right, so that's Daniel chapter 2. It's falling apart. So let's get back to it. So it took its place upon the earth, Revelation 12 and 14. All right, 12 and 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth as a water as a flood after the woman, and that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. That same thing they're about to do, they're going to try to do real soon. They really want to get rid of the children of Israel. You heard Biden slip up talking about some Israel. When we get the Israelites, everything is set up towards Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. But they know that our people are mingled amongst their people, looking like the other nations. But they really Israelites, so they want to get everybody. All right, let's stick to the point. So now, 16. And the earth helped the woman. All right, so we the nations, we ran into places like Egypt, where we already had people living in those places. All right, in Africa, in Haran. And the earth helped the woman. So, see that? And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. All right. Took some of that pressure off of us. The Lord have mercy on us. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. See, the dragon's still angry with us. It's Esau, man. Them elites. Their whole agenda is against us. They said it's like a group of 38 Edomites that run they run the Rothschilds, all of them. And went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keepeth the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. See that? So they set up to go against us in the future. Because they knew about the prophecies, man. And about Yahweh Shai's return. Okay? So they set up a system with what they call, what we know as the beast or Nato in America. For what? To make war with the remnant of Israel. Okay? So now let's get back to 13. All right, Revelation 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. Now really it should say, and he stood or took his place upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast. And then it's supposed to say, I saw, which would be John the Revelator. He saw a beast rise up out of the sea. All right, out of from among the people, another alliance. ALLIANCE, alliance, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, come up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names supposed to say of evil speakings or of blasphemy. And that's what they all stand for, paganism. All right. So what is this? This is talking about NATO, the establishment of NATO being ruled by those elite bankers over there in Europe. All right, so now let's keep going. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. So what they're trying to say there is Nato was just like Alexander the Great or Macedon, or that paganism that they were pushing, and how he was a military force to be reckoned with. And they looked at Alexander as a hero. They even studied his war strategies. All right, let me get this real quick. This is Daniel chapter 8, verse 4. This is an example of Alexander, how he took power. And you can think about NATO the same way. It was set up as a military alliance, all right, military power. And that was like the start of it, the Greek Empire, and it's going to end with Russia. All right, Daniel 8 and 4, and I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, talking about the Persian Empire with Darius III, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. All right. So now let's keep going. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground, meaning he didn't fall in battle. They didn't lose any battles. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes, Macedon, the Macedonian Empire. And it's talking about Alexander the Great. And he came to the ram that had two horns, the Persians and the Medes, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him. So it's just like World War II. All right. You see that? Through Alexander's and the Macedonians, Philip the Macedonian, through their military explorations, they've gained their power in the earth, just like NATO, just like the EU, just like America. All right. So it says, "It smote the rams, or they smote the Persian Empire, and break his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him." See, there was no power in Japan and their allies in Germany to stand before America and the NATO allies in World War II. All right. Before that, America played the background in World War I. Now, it says, and he cast him down to the ground. See, cast him down to the ground, meaning what? To raise them as a nation, to bring them low. All right, to destroy them. And that's why it said Alexander never touched the ground, just like NATO. And stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. There was none that could deliver anybody out of NATO's hand. So that's why everybody stayed away. Because if you mess with one party in NATO, you had to deal with everybody. All right. And therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. That's what we call Alexander the Great. When he was strong and the great horn was broken. So basically the Greek Empire and the great horn, Alexander, was broken. And for it came up four notable horns, notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. That's talking about the Diadochi, which were the successors that carried on their paganism from Greece, from Macedon. They moved the capital over to Syria. All right. So now I think it was Seleucus, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Ptolemy. All right. So let's get a little bit more detail. Doesn't this sound like the NATO spoken of? All right. That was established around 1949 over to 1952 with over here also in DC. First Maccabees 1:1, and it happened that after Alexander the son of Philip, this is Daniel, basically Daniel 8 all over again. Alexander the son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, man. All right, so the goat is Greece, and the horn represents Alexander. It made many wars. See, that's what NATO was set up for. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And also America, the hammer of the earth, made many wars on the earth. And won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered mighty strong hosts and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries to him. All right, now doesn't that sound like NATO? Let me get this real quick. All right, this is basically what NATO is today, but it's all broken up now. The NATO alliance, see, that's what it is, an alliance, consists of 30 member states from North America and Europe. All right. Article 5 of the treaty states that if an armed attack occurs against one of the member states, it should be considered an attack against all members. All right, and other members shall assist the attacked member with armed forces if necessary. And thus you have this bio war that's happening right now, this economic war, instead of a armed war to where China and them will lose against the NATO alliances that's still in place. See, that's why they're going a different route until the whole NATO is dispersed, according to Daniel chapter 2, gonna be weakened with the Brexit and the other nations leaving the European Union and NATO alliance. All right, but America became the head of NATO. All right, because to keep the alliance together, they have to have one of their commanders, or the commander of NATO has to be an American, all right, or American citizen. Check this out. So that's the woman riding upon the scarlet-colored beast, sitting upon her. Watch this, man. The United States remains the strongest military power within the alliance. Why? Because of the nuclear power, nuclear weapons. It says nuclear weapons remain the ultimate weapon of deterrence for the alliance. And because the bulk of these weapons come from the United States, it is important to have an American officer in command. All right, and the first one was, guess who? None other than the devil himself. He became the first secure or saucer, which would be an acronym. I forgot what it means. I could look it up, or you could look it up. SACEUR. And he established that for himself in 1949 to be a saucer, whatever it is, man. It's an acronym. And he established that position so he can take that seat. All right, and President, I think Roosevelt set him up as the first commander of NATO. It says there's Dwight D. Eisenhower, who had led Allied forces in Europe during World War II. On December 19th, 1950, the North Atlantic Council announced the appointment of General Eisenhower as the first SACEUR, and that's basically a Supreme Alliance Commander. All right. So it got more letters to it, but that's the basis of it. All right, the Supreme Alliance Commander, Allied Commander. This is Revelation 17:1. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which sitteth upon many waters. All right, so America, that's the whore that's being pimped and used by Europe, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, talking about their business deals. All right, and it says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk by the wine of her fornication, man. See, Esau's business and their banking is all mingled with witchcraft and deception. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, all right, the desert, damn, the earth, the way they made it. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. See, they established America and exalted her and put her over Nato, and put her over these, over the whole world, really, especially with the dollar. That's how she became a whore. Right, pushing their idolatry and their paganism and their New World Order agenda against righteousness. All right, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. That's the idolatry, all right, and all their witchcrafts and iniquity that they committed. And this place has been made rich, all right, and they had the NATO alliance as their backing. Let's get back to it. All right, it says, NATO's chief military officer, the supreme allied commander of Europe. All right, so that's what they are, the supreme allied commander of Europe, man. And that's what the sorcerer means. Is traditionally an American. It's a woman riding upon the scarlet-colored beast, NATO. The Secretary General has traditionally been European. See, the secretary dealing with the accounts and banking. All right, so this is Revelation 13, and where was I at? Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. So it's just like the Greek Empire. And if you read Daniel chapter 7, which I'm probably not going to get it, so I can move on, you know, that's the leopard. Let me just get it. All right, Daniel chapter 7 and 6. And this I beheld, and lo, another beast like a leopard, talking about the Greek Empire that rose up after the Persian Empire, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast, talking about the Diadochi, had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, talking about the Roman Empire, and strong exceedingly, and it had iron teeth. Iron teeth represents the Iron Age, and also what they used to make their weapons with. And their weaponry was used by what? Their vast and strong military. That's what they were known for, their military. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. So it went after the children of Israel. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. All right, the 10 common markets of Rome that fell in 410 AD. Okay. So it says this, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, talking about America. But how did that happen? It got established through the European Union, NATO, and the American Revolutionary War with the 13 colonies, all right, and their war for independence from Britain. That was the establishment, and while we were in slavery. So they wanted more power to put us in the harsher slavery, man. All right, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. I'm talking about France, Spain, and Britain. All right. So and so through that, America was able to gain power on land and sea, and in what was it called, the first Congress. All right. It says, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things. What's that? The eyes represents these agencies that were set up by Europe, man. The dragon. All right. And the voice, which is what the damn teleprompter that the president be reading. All right. And all their draconian measures that's being pushed on this place. So this is where we at right now. All right. This is how America got established. And that's what it's speaking about in Revelation 13, how the beast, Nato and America is going to be pushing the agenda and the voice of the dragon in a more subtle way instead of a more drastic way like NATO. Now they're using America, the subtle hand of deception through the media, through their agencies, through their corporations. All right. That's what they're using against the people. Through their religious organizations. All right, so let's get to it. All right, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear. It means the end of a thing. When you see something at the end of it, you're talking about the feet of it. You're talking about Russia. All right, the Lord raising up Russia. The spirit of the Medes. All right, because they're in that land today. Talking about Russia. All right. And they call Russia the bear. Matter of fact, brother just sent me an article the other day. Brother Kanak. The brother in this camp, Kanak, he did a good lesson on it, talking about how China is joining with Russia, right, to complete certain, I'll say, weaponizations that they're using right now. It says this: can the Chinese dragon, well, they're not the dragon, you know, can the Chinese join the Russian bear to beat the U.S. eagle? Whoa. See, that's heavy. They call America the eagle. And the Russia, the bear. All right, so right here where it says, Revelation 13:2, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. All right, the end of it. In the time of this place is down, these Edomites' downfall, Satan's going to be divided against Satan. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion. That's talking about the spokesman would be Great Britain. All right. Great Britain, the lion. That's what they had as a lion. That was their symbol. But they became the financial backing of this whole system. All right. And they were the power seat. They held the power seat in World War I. In World War II, Great Britain lost so much that they took the background. And they didn't play as a military force anymore, but more of a financial investor, investment firms and stuff. To which you have the IMF set up, established the International Monetary Fund, which robbed all the resources from the world through that, the SDR basket of currencies. So now verse 3. And I saw in his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So who's going to fight against NATO? Russia and China. All right, they established their own form of NATO, their own beast, a military conglomerate or alliance to go against NATO. All right, and that goes with Ezekiel 38 when they come up against America. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. All right, and it was really healed with what you would call the Treaty of Rome. All right. But he came up out of the pit in 1266 BC with the Ottoman Turks. Then you had the Treaty of Rome, I think it was 1957, where you had the establishment of the EU. And then the EU turned into the Western European Union. All right, which was linked up with NATO and America. So now it says this, verse 4, and they worshiped the beast, they worshiped the dragon, so they submitted to the dragon, and which gave power unto the beast, unto the NATO, and they worshiped the beast. To the people submitted to the NATO, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is like unto NATO? Who is able to make war with him, man? So that's what it was about, war. So they was like, yeah, they feel like they perfected it, their military alliance. And they're like, nobody's able to make war, so now they can go to war with everybody. All right. Mainly the children of Israel. Didn't that sound like we were reading something about Alexander again? Who was able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And there was given unto him, and there was power was given unto him to continue 42 months. It's like 3.5 years. And that's like the president's seat that's over NATO, the mouthpiece, the commander and speaker for NATO, which would be like the first one was Eisenhower in 1950s. All right. President Eisenhower. And what did he do when he got in that power seat? And they were kicking our ass, the civil rights movement. And they wore out the children of Israel and defeated our people. Had our people singing, we shall overcome and shit, while getting hit upside the head. All right. And they integrated our people into their system. It says, verse 6, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Yahweh, right? To blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. So it was an attack. What's that? Blasphemy. Committing blasphemy is an attack against heaven. So that's what Esau did. They set out to go to war with us. And they started calling this country a God-fearing country, so they can separate themselves from the atheist countries like Russia, so that way they can get the proper resources and help from the Roman Catholic Church in Rome. All right. So they didn't do it for any sincere reasons. Eisenhower, they call him a prophet. Man, he was a demon. He set up stuff like this right here. So he said, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy. How did he do that? All right, I can pull up the article. I'm going to show you real quick. President Eisenhower signs "In God We Trust" into law. All right, he mandated that the phrase be printed on the coins, man. All right, and we know what their God is. Their God is Lucifer. And also, he signed into law that he want all the schools to start saying under God in the pledge. When it was like one nation, indivisible, they say one nation under God, indivisible. And this nation is not under God. They don't worship Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai in this place. They dishonor the Bible. Instead, they uphold masonry, which is satanic. So that's the God that they serve. All right, so Eisenhower and people like him opened their mouth in blasphemy. And at the same time, they were kicking our ass. And it was establishing what you call the civil rights movement. All right, and people were getting lynched. Now, it says, verse 7, Revelation 13:7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints. All right, talking about America, to make war with Israel and to overcome them. So they went to war with our people and they overcame us. All right, especially with slavery and in the 50s and 60s. And they did overcome us. Look at our nation, man. All right, the Lord said they were going to do it, and our people became completely dead, spiritually dead, man. All right, so they have overcome our people. Look at our nation, man. They turned inside out. They look like Esau, blonde hair, acting like them, all their atrocities, trust in science, sodomy, all kind of shit. It's like the Roman Empire. All right, so, and they overcame the children of Israel, and power was given unto him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And that's why we need a deliverer. We need Yahushua, because of the condition we're in. All right, we have become the tail and not the head. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. So, all the people that are worldly, they all worship, submit to this system, whose names are not written in the book of the life, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. Talking about Yahushua. So if their names are not in that book of life, then they're going to remain in the congregation of the dead, and they're going to get the mandate. They're going to go along with everything. They're submitting to this system, man, completely. That goes to Romans chapter 11. All right, verse 7. All right, so I'm going to try to speed through this a little bit. In verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. They submitted to Rome and Nato in America. All right, especially through the dollar and the way of living in this culture here, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. And if any man have an ear, let him hear. All right, because what? Here you go. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, right? Because those that are in the truth, that are written in the Lamb book of life, we're hoping for the kingdom. We're hoping for salvation. We know that the Lord is going to deliver Jacob from Esau and have Jacob pull Esau down, man, physically. So why would you submit to Esau? All right? That's why we set up to trust Yahweh Bashem Yahushai in the spirit. At the core of your being. Now it says, and he exercised of all, where was that? And he that killeth with the sword. See, Esau was set up to be that criminal, to kill with the sword, right? That's his blessing. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So he set Esau up from the beginning. The Lord said he was always going to have war against Amalek and, the damn Edomites. So they're going to be killed with the sword, with destruction. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So all right, those are the saints, the Israelites. And this is, let me get this real quick. All right, this is Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. And it says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. See, they let you know the people is talking about who? Israel. And upon thy holy city. What's the holy city? And the word holy means to be what? Sanctified, separated. All right, by definition. So the holy city is Jerusalem. And 70 weeks represent 490 years. All right, and that takes you all the way to the time of Herod, Daniel chapter 12, with Yahushua. It says to finish the transgressions and to make an end of sins. All right, he did that through Yahushua. All right. And during this time, the second temple was going to be rebuilt, and it was going to lead up to a return of Yahushua. All right. To the birth of Yahushua. It says to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy. All right. And to anoint the most holy. All right, so that's who the saints are. All right, that people, that holy city. All right, this is Psalms 50 and 5. Gather my saints together unto me, and that's who the saints are. All right, we're gonna find out. Those that have made a covenant with me by fire. Who made the covenant? We can go to Romans chapter 9 for that. Matter of fact, let's get it real quick. All right, Romans chapter 9 and 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahweh Shai, from my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. These are the saints, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Yahweh and the promises. So the covenants, let's get back to that. All right, so Psalms 50 and 5, gather my saints together unto me. So the saints are being gathered, the elect of Israel. Those that made a sacrifice with me by fire, all right? And those that made a covenant with me by sacrifice, all right? Those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And those are the Israelites, where Moses. And the heavens shall declare his righteousness, for Yahweh is judge himself. Salah. Hear, O my people, I will speak, O Israel. I will testify against thee, I Yahweh, even thy God. So who are the saints? Those are Israelites, all right? All right, so now, Revelation 13 and 14. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. All right, here is the patience and the faith of the saints, all right, the elect of Israel. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, the Democrats and Republicans, all right, split Congress so they can divide the nation into two parts, man, cause a division, order out of chaos, all right. And through that, they were going to bring the establishment of their MOTB system. All right. And it says, and he had two horns like a lamb, so he was acting very subtle. All right, deceiving really. But Yahweh Shai is the true lamb. They really set up to go to war against the lamb, Yahweh Shai. But it said what? And he spake as a dragon. So he really puts the agenda of the dragon, the voice of the dragon, man. Rome, the EU, all the way from the beginning, the first beast. All right, that it was talking about in this chapter. So it says this. All right, so it's like a dragon in sheep's clothing. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, talking about the Roman Empire, the dragon, whose deadly wound was healed. All right, the EU. So he caused everybody to submit to the European Union. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had done, power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth. So he deceived the world through the dollar, through the media, through the movies, the entertainment, through the World War II, Hiroshima and Nagasaki with their nuclear power, causing them to remain a powerhouse on the earth as a deterrent to the other nations. But now the Lord has strengthened the other nations. He said, what? Let the weak say, I am strong. Beat thy plowshares into pruning hooks, into spears, I mean. The things that they would use for their agricultural finance, they use towards their military infrastructure of these nations. And now they've grown stronger. They're like, they might as well do it. They might as well pull away from the deals with America and just focus on building themselves stronger. And that's what they've done. People like North Korea, Iran, Pakistan, Venezuela. It says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, right? In the theater of the EU, the Roman Empire over there in Europe. All right. That's what they call it, a theater, area, a domain for entertainment of war or whatever. All right, theatrical events. It says, which had the wound by a sword and did live. All right, and he had power. They're talking about the Roman Empire when it was wounded in 410 AD, and it rose back up in 1266. But then you had the Byzantine Empire between that. Then it rose back up 1266, and it came out of the pit. And ever since then, they set out to heal Rome, and they did it in 1957, the Treaty of Rome. All right. And deceived them. All right, what was that? And he had power to give life unto the image. Did I skip something? Sorry about that. I'm reading off my phone, so it's like blur my eyes sometimes. Here we go. All right, and had power to give life unto the image. So they set out to set a system up for the Roman Empire, their New World Order. Through America, they're going to try to establish their New World Order. Look at Biden, man. They call it pushing the agenda of the left. No, they're pushing the agenda of Edom, of Esau, on the left. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. So through America, they're pushing their agenda. That the image of the system of the beast should both speak, all right, and cause that as many as would not worship the image, the system of the beast should be killed. So they're pushing the Roman Empire's agenda. And anybody that doesn't submit to it, ultimately they want them to die. And he caused of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right, and that word there is charagma. All right. And you see where this is leading to. But let me keep going. That no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, or, basically get that damn passport. All right. And it's going to lead to something else where they're going to be able to have an account tied to your what would it be, man? Basically DNA. All right. That's going to be the new account. It won't be tied to the straw man anymore, the birth certificate. It'll be tied to you, the human individual. All right. Anybody that's in that system, that's just it. You see where it's heading to, man. But the ultimate capstone going to be people being able to walk up to a store with all the systems that are in place right now and just be like, boop, with the hand, everything already set up. That's what their goal is. The quick fix to life. All right? Which going to ultimately bring quick, swift destruction upon their ass. All right? That no man might buy or sell save he that had, or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, the Roman Empire, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And that's Chi stigma. All right, basically the chip, man. So with that, man, I'm gonna end it. Hopefully it's edifying. Revelation 13 breakdown. Basically establishment of two separate entities from the dragon. It's just like having a business. You set up sole proprietorship, or you can set up an LLC, Sole proprietorship sets up the business, aligning it with you, so the blame could be placed on you and your business. You set up an LLC, it sets up a separate entity to where people got to blame that entity, and they don't blame the person. All right, they can't go for the person and their assets, like their house or their car. They can only go for the business and what the business is worth and what it owns. So that's what happened. Everybody gonna target America. Everybody gonna target America, and then ultimately NATO. All right. So they established NATO as a powerhouse, and then America as a different form of a powerhouse, but moving in subtlety through politicians and shit. All right. So with that, I'm gonna say, anybody want to land back off this lesson, man, please feel free to do so and share. With that, I'm gonna say, shalom.